You won't believe this terrifying verse is actually in the Bible. He took his firstborn son, who was to succeed him as king, and offered him as a sacrifice on the city wall. That's 2 Kings 3:27. So, what's happening here? The king of Moab is in a desperate situation. His city is besieged by the armies of Israel, Judah, and Edom. He's completely cornered, and defeat seems inevitable. In a horrifying act of last resort, he performs the most extreme ritual imaginable to appease his god Chemosh. He sacrifices his own son, his heir, in full view of the attacking armies. The Bible says this act brought a great wrath upon Israel, and the invading forces were so disturbed and shocked by what they witnessed that they immediately lifted the siege and returned to their own land. The king's terrifying act, in a grim and twisted way, actually worked. It saved his kingdom, but at an unimaginable cost. Scary ... but true. Follow for more biblical horrors. You think that was intense? Listen to this one, tucked away in the book of Judges. Then the Spirit of the Lord came on Jephthah, and Jephthah made a vow to the Lord. If you give the Ammonites into my hands, whatever comes out of the door of my house to meet me when I return in triumph will be the Lord's, and I will sacrifice it as a burnt offering. That's Judges 11, verses 29 to 31. Jephthah was a mighty warrior, but he made a reckless promise in the heat of the moment, desperate for victory. He led Israel's army and, as promised, God gave him a decisive win over the Ammonites. He returns home, a triumphant hero, his heart swelling with pride. But as he approaches his house, the first one to come out the door, dancing with tambourines to celebrate his victory, is his daughter, his only child. The Bible describes his utter devastation. He tears his clothes, crying out in anguish. But a vow to God was considered unbreakable. The story ends with him fulfilling his dreadful promise, a tragic lesson on the danger of making rash vows without considering the consequences. Chilling, isn't it? Subscribe for more stories you didn't hear in Sunday school. Ready for another one? This one is a real nightmare. So the Lord sent a plague on Israel, and 70,000 men of Israel fell dead. That's from 2 Samuel 24:15. So why did this happen? It all started when King David, against the advice of his general Joab, decided to take a census of his fighting men. In that culture, this was seen as an act of pride, relying on military strength instead of trusting in God. As a consequence, David is given 3 options for his punishment: 3 years of famine, 3 months of fleeing from his enemies, or 3 days of plague in the land. David, reasoning it as better to fall into the hands of a merciful God than into the hands of men, chooses the plague. For 3 days, a destructive angel sweeps through Israel. The death toll is staggering. 70,000 people pay the ultimate price for their king's mistake. It's a terrifying reminder of how the actions of leaders can have devastating consequences for their people. Haunting, but it's in the book. Thanks for watching.